Hi, I'm Brandy Stanley, and this is my Module 3, my Special Education Interviews for EDL 853. The first question I asked was, what are your child find procedures? And the para that I was speaking to said that they use Ames Web and MAP and are trying something different in the upcoming year called FastBridge. And the special education teacher said that there's a preschool program within the school district, and they have a special needs preschool for early intervention. And then they also do screening at the kindergarten roundup. So they use the Brigance and tools such as that to assess early abilities and academic needs. And then the school principal that I spoke to at the junior high said that at his level, the SIT process is what we use at the junior high to determine need. It's a student intervention team, and it's a collaborative process that brings parents in as well as teachers and talks about the needs that students might have once they get up to the junior high level. I should clarify that the paraprofessional and special education teacher that I spoke with are at the elementary level in the district, and I spoke to my own principal at the junior high level. What do you find to be the most challenging part of your role? So the paraprofessional spoke to me about waiting for the process of identification. He noted that it was very frustrating that there were times that he knew, based on the data, of course, they knew there were students who needed help, needed additional support, but the lengthy process of identification was frustrating for him. Waiting for parents to agree to the process of identification, then following up with testing and so on before they could do something more to help the students that he worked with. The special education teacher shared frustration in having to advocate so strongly for her students to be included in regular education classrooms. Some people she worked with were very welcoming and very accommodating. Others would not have been included. Other students would not have been included in the classrooms if not for her pushing and insistence that that was what was best for the student. She advocates very strongly for her students and ensures that what is supposed to be done is in fact done and the IEP is followed, but she just shared frustration that she had to be so insistent about it. And then the other frustration for her was parent support for identification. Sometimes parents are hesitant to put that label on their child, and yet, explaining the process that this is what needs to happen for the level of support and intervention that they need, that is a tricky process. And then the principal, Mr. Martin, said that the number of meetings that he was required to attend is a frustration for him just because he can't be everywhere at once, and sometimes things pull him away from the meetings that he would like to attend. So as the school counselor, I often am attending IEP meetings as the LEA representative and informing him about what happens in those meetings that he can't get to. And then another concern is making sure the parents are well informed. He does a very nice job of making sure that we're not just using teacher speak type language when we have parents at a meeting. If they look confused or overwhelmed, we slow down the meeting, and he's very good about asking them if they understand, clarifying anything that is just jargon that we use in the education world that parents aren't going to be accustomed to hearing, and explaining those phrases as we go along. The most rewarding part of the job for the paraprofessional, he stated that successful collaboration between He is the para, the special education teacher, and the regular ed teacher for the student's success, that he felt good when he was working along with others for the common goal. And then, of course, seeing the kids' growth in the data when he and the students had put the time and effort in and they've worked so hard, and then seeing that growth was very rewarding for him. The special education teacher said, again, kids being successful that normally get overlooked, and giving the students tools to be successful. And then the principal stated being able to get the support that students need when special education is warranted. And then he noted that oftentimes it lifts a burden for parents, not removing total responsibility, of course, for follow through and follow up and work at home. But oftentimes we're hearing that parents are just so overwhelmed with how long it's taking their child to complete homework, and that they're not sure how to help them, especially in the area of math. It's been a long time since they've been in a math class, so to be able to help them with that homework, and sometimes identification and additional support at school helps alleviate some of that. Regarding the supervision of special education staff, the paraprofessional, I was a little surprised that he so strongly stated that clear expectations must be set, procedures and protocol must be followed, and just to remember that support staff may not have all of the information and background that some of us others do in regard to why things are done the way they're done. And I think he's drawing from experience here that sometimes some of the paras that he worked with might help too much, and especially on a test where we're really trying to evaluate what can the student do independently and really basing our support on those results, they may not be getting the support they need because they're more successful as a result of someone really helping too much and giving answers. The special education teacher stated that we need to give the right amount of input, not being overbearing, not running the program, but providing oversight and support. She also stated not to be about numbers only. The numbers don't tell the whole story. So when you're talking about a ratio of the number of paras per student and things like that, she emphasized that it's important to know the caseload more than just the numbers, know those kids and what their specific needs are. And then reducing the administrative duties for the special education teacher. Sometimes she experienced some uncomfortable situations where she was evaluating the paras that she worked with, and sometimes that has created tension, it seemed like. My principal stated to hire well, to stay in contact with the special education staff on a regular basis, be in their classroom often, just like other classrooms. You want to know what's happening in that room on a regular basis so that you can answer any questions that may arise. And then demonstrate support. He stated that our special education staff are vital to our school, and he really doesn't think of them as different and separate. He values them, includes them in staff meetings, includes them in communications with the rest of the building, and really would encourage that type of relationship with special education support staff. Working effectively with parents of special needs children. The paraprofessional stated, consider their lives. Conveying the information with understanding related to conveying to parents for the first time that their child has a learning need, has a learning disability, has an emotional disturbance, something that they are being informed of for the first time. He said, consider the fact that this is their child, and they will have a relationship with their child for the rest of their lives. We may teach them for the year, for the few years that we have them in public education, but he said, consider how their lives are impacted and changed, and what that means for them, and be a little more understanding than frustrating. Sometimes situations with parents can be frustrating when they are reluctant to add a label in order to get support services, and that's really what he was referring to. He also said build trust with parents. Work to let them know that you're on their side and you're on the same team. The special education teacher stated that we should find out the best ways to communicate with parents, and then added, use multiple ways, use multiple means. Find out what the particular parents prefer, but then also you kind of have to layer and make sure that you're using multiple ways of communicating with them. Let them know that they're vital team members. Make sure they understand their rights, and include them in writing an IEP that fits for what their hopes and dreams for their child might be. What outcomes do they want to see for their child? The principal stated that relationships are key, kind of echoing what the other two have already said. Relationships with those parents, relationships with the students themselves, and then clear communication. Making sure that they feel comfortable around the table and that they are considered a team member. Working with regular education teachers with students who have special needs, the paraprofessional said clear communication is important. He's a firm believer in inclusion and has felt some tension and pushback when teachers send students out too often, when it's not according to the IEP, when it's something that they may just find challenging to have the student in their classroom. So letting the teachers know that they're critical in the student's success and that they should be included as much as possible. The teacher stated that helping regular ed teachers with inclusion was important, helping to support that process. Team teaching, she has tried in the last year some co-teaching that has been very effective. And in that has kind of removed the bias of special education resources, both by the teachers and bias that the students, may feel different because they are going to the resource room for help or something like that. It's just going to see Miss Sarah that was in the room with everybody, helping multiple students, through the co-teaching experience. And the principal stated that reminders of the IEP expectations for teachers are important. Making sure they're following those IEPs. Sharing the state mandates. He regularly goes to meetings where he's informed of any changes in regulations and any changes in the law, and make sure that he brings that back to staff. And then trainings may have to be provided. Our district supports sending people to conferences so that we are up to date in the methodology and the law concerning what we need to be doing to best serve our students. As far as advice for a first-year administrator, the paraprofessional stated having a meeting with the leaders of the program, the special education program, would be important, and trying to assess how have things been done before, what worked, what didn't work, what should be changed, and so on, and then just letting them know that they are supported. Then the special education teacher get informed and create a checklist for the entire process. She said, from screening to identification to providing services, a checklist that included who was responsible, when things need to be done, and so on, so that the administrator could provide oversight for that. And then the principal stated establishing relationships with special education staff, visiting resource room often, and knowing the parents. regarding the role of